had this conversation so many times with my clients in private practice, and it's always the thing that moves the needle in terms of how they feel day to day. Asking the question, what do you need? And that means knowing what's going on for you, getting ahead of the depletion by knowing what you need to replenish yourself before you are completely underwater and feeling like you are emotionally drowning. So we talk about two things when I'm with my clients. We talk about naming what you're experiencing and then actively replenishing yourself. So what does that actually look like day to day? It starts with just noticing. I'm exhausted. I'm overwhelmed. I'm dreading that conversation tomorrow, or I have no idea what I'm feeling right now. The last one is more common than you think, this feeling of, I don't even know what I'm feeling, but I know something's off. That's okay. Not knowing exactly what you're feeling is still information. I feel numb. I feel like I can't locate myself right now. I hear all of those from my clients. It counts, and it is a real starting point. Here's the thing that seems backwards about this, but is really true. The more permission you give the feeling, the less overwhelming it becomes. The more you acknowledge it, get curious about it, let it have a seat at the table, the smaller and less overpowering it becomes. And once a feeling feels seen, once that part of you feels seen, you naturally start to move forward. You naturally start to problem solve. You stop reacting and start responding. You go from being dragged along by what you feel to actually being able to do something about it. That's the shift. When your feelings become something where you can say, oh, there you are over here. I feel you and I see you and I can name you. Instead of something that's running you from the background, you get your control back. One more thing, and this might be the most important part. This is exactly what your baby needs from you. Not perfection, not a mother who never struggles, a mother who can feel something, acknowledge it, and stay present anyway. When you practice noticing and naming your own experience instead of fighting it or pretending it isn't there, you're building the exact same capacity you'll use with your child 1,000 times. You see their feeling. You give it permission to exist. You help them slowly learn to carry it, to tolerate it, to cope with it. That's what parenting is at its core. It starts with learning to do it for yourself first. I use this exercise a lot as a way to try to jumpstart kind of getting in touch with what you're feeling internally. It involves treating the feeling as the conclusion and working our way backwards to find the evidence or the story of how we got there. Imagine yourself at a low point. Maybe you're on your way to your baby's 6-week doctor visit and you're just sobbing in the car. It's the first moment of the day where you're not actively doing something other than driving and you just fall apart. Now pretend this moment is happening to someone else, a character in a story, and you have to fill in the story with the facts that apply to you. How would a person get to that point of breaking down and feeling so depleted? If you had to tell a story where that is the end point, what have you been through over the last however long, weeks, years, whatever's right for you? What has happened that would make sense for why you're feeling this way right now in this moment? If you can write it down, do so. If you're not in a position to write anything down, that's okay. But really tell that story from the beginning. This is a common one. You have a stressful job. You and your partner finally decide you're ready to try to get pregnant. You finally get pregnant. You didn't feel well for months on end. You finally get to the end of your pregnancy. You had a couple medical complications that you didn't anticipate. You maybe end up having a C-section you didn't think would happen, and it was kind of a difficult recovery, or at least worse than you thought it was going to be. And then you come home to a baby who wants to eat every 45 minutes, cries at the top of her lungs, and you're feeling overwhelmed and worn down. And this has gone on weeks and weeks. And it's a relentless, never-ending cycle of meeting someone else's needs. You don't even know who you are anymore, and you don't know if you resent your baby, if you're just bad at this. Your partner's maybe going back to work, and you're like, how am I going to survive being home alone with this baby? And then one day you just kind of feel that low point. You find yourself, crying in the car on the way to the doctor's appointment. Telling this story is essential because it is talking to the part of you that's feeling helpless, not just exhausted and depleted, but feeling like you're stuck in that. And yes, even though you feel the hopelessness, the depletion, the exhaustion, there is another part of you that of course loves your baby and is doing an amazing job. Holding both of those truths at the same time is so hard. Pick the words that resonate with you and make sense for you. And if it feels hard to own how difficult this is, that's okay. But that is good information to have. That connecting with this part of you that's struggling is uncomfortable for you. That didn't feel safe at some point. At some point in your life, it tells me that struggling wasn't safe. Whatever experience or emotion is difficult to connect with means feeling that emotion isn't safe on a physiological level, that your body wired the feeling of X with not safe. Just like you would wire a food that you ate that then made you sick a couple of hours later and you got food poisoning, your body can also wire an emotion that you experience over and over that is always met with some kind of disconnection and lack of safety. That doesn't mean abuse. That doesn't mean trauma. That just means that emotion wasn't met with connection. It wasn't seen. And therefore, it's harder for you to connect with because someone else didn't connect with it first.